Hey everybody, it's Andrew Slack with Forrest Hansen and today's special guest, Victor Loveira. And welcome to the show. This is West Coast Live, and I just realized on the layout that Forrest is Victor and Victor is Forrest. So those of you, I think you guys can figure it out. If not, the handsome one is Victor and the other handsome one is Forrest. Cool. I am the pasty pale one. You are welcome. Thank you, Czechoslovakia. We are... I'm really excited for today's episode, and flat out, I gotta give a shout out to Forrest. He's been the one who's scheduled our guests, and without him, this wouldn't be moving in such a positive direction. And before we go,
thank you, man.
Oh, dude, come on, you know what you do. And
I appreciate it.
Before we go any further, of course, I want to give a huge shout out to our new sponsor because it's actually someone within the West Coast community. This is Champion Webinar is brought to you by Alpha Vo. It's called Westy Side Chat, and it's pretty darn great. If you and I have his blurb right in front of me. If you want to learn from top instructors through the ease of the internet, check out Westy Side Chat. And their next event is featuring, of course, Mr. Miles Monroe. You can check it out right down below. We've posted a link in the description, and it's definitely worth your time. Just check it out. He will be sharing his insights on July 24th. Thank you so much, Alpha, for being a part of the show, and thank you so much for trusting us with your product, I guess. So we're going to do this, and I'm going to kill the music. And as per the usual, we're going to be taking questions today as you have them. But for the most part, we're just here to hear what Victor has to say. So, Victor, why don't you, like I said before, I gave Victor kind of the TLDR, and we just want to start with, like, Victor, how'd you get into this? How did you become a DJ, man?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I started DJing in 1980, guys.
That's awesome.
How old were you guys? I was born.
Oh my God, I hate you. Yeah,
I was in the womb.
Wow, that's messed up.
That's messed
up. My brother and I had we started a mobile DJ company in Houston, Texas. And
that's awesome.
Wow, we used to DJ weddings and corporate gigs and stuff like that. And then that same year I met a character by the name of Mario Robow.
Oh, I've heard of him. Yeah.
And then yeah, I know. Tell me about it, man. My liver's never been the same.
I was waiting to see how long like a liquor joke with Mario would come in. It's like 45 seconds is a longer time than I thought. Cool. That's awesome. So go on.
Yeah. So I kind of got exposed to West Coast swing in 1984. I actually went with Mario when he took his first lesson. His old man kind of tricked us into going by telling us he'd buy us a beer.
What?
He stuck with it. I didn't. And then I just continued DJing. I used to, DJ at nightclubs and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then in 1990, I completely stopped DJing. I moved to Florida. And then in 96, Mario came out to Florida. I went to go see him at the event where he was at. I hadn't seen him in like 2 years. And then I fell into DJing in 96. West Coast Swing.
Yeah.
So how
when you say, oh, you're about to tell me, maybe I should shut up and let you tell your story. My bad.
Oh, that's so funny.
Smooth transition.
I like it.
Yeah. I went and saw him at this event that was happening in 96. A gentleman by the name of Cal Branson. If you guys know Katrina Branson, it's his father.
Oh.
Was running an event out there, and Mario came out, and like I said, I hadn't seen him in 2 years. And then I met a gentleman by the name of Mark Fisher. For those of you out there, he used to produce the Swing and the Blues CDs, which every single West Coast Swing DJ back then had all of those CDs. We all played off of them. And he said, hey, the next time I'm out of town, do you want to DJ the monthly dance for the South Florida Swing Dance Society? And I was like, yeah, sure. I thought he was BSing me. And lo and behold, he went out of town. I had to DJ. I had no music. So I think I went out and spent like $300 on CDs because this was before laptops.
Sure.
And that's how I got back into it. And then at Cal's event the following year, I met a young lady by the name of Cher Peden. And we had just met, and she had not even heard me DJ, and she invited me to come out to Texas Classic, which later became America's Classic, which was the event that Mario and Cher ran together for many years.
Yeah.
And Mario could not attend that one year because they used to do the event Easter. And if I'm not mistaken, I think one of his kids was getting baptized that weekend, so Mario wasn't there.
It's not important.
And I got thrown into an invitational Jack and Jill, my first event out. Had no idea what the hell I was getting into.
Wow.
And I guess the rest, as they say, is history, because I've been doing it ever since.
That was the most detailed recounting of anyone's past I've heard in a long time. That was amazing.
It was simultaneously so detailed and so succinct. It was really like, have you rehearsed that, Victor? That was so on the nose.
That was incredible. That's okay. So, wow. I have no questions about your past now. Like,
we know everything.
Yeah. Hey, you don't know everything. There's a lot of shit. Never mind.
I'm sure.
Go on.
About whatever happened to your liver when you were working with Mario, I'm sure.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Good old days.
Yeah, man. So I met Victor. Geez, I met you at Chico, didn't I? Or did we meet before that?
No, I think it was at Chico, dude. And I'll never forget that year we emceed together.
That was.
That was so much fun.
So much fun. That was simultaneously like one of the best times I've ever had because of you, and one of the most like just awful, like just confusing, batshit crazy events I've ever been to. Like, I love Chico. It is my jam. Like that convention, well before it was even turned into TAP, was just such a good time. But that year was just like Chuck was trying everything. Bless his heart. And
I will never forget the pants from Kyle's routine.
Oh yeah.
Thrown up and just hanging from the ceiling, just dangling down into the middle of the dance floor. That was one of my first like West Coast Swing event experiences, and it was truly novel.
Yeah,
so.
It's like, well, this is how it is. Cool, I'm down, and he's stayed ever since. So like,
yeah, and I guess that worked for me.
I guess so. So I have literally no segue because I was expecting to ask more questions about your history, and I thought that would naturally go in. Forrest.
Well, you can ask more questions. I mean, that really was just kind of a brief. Okay. I was trying to be as fast as I can.
No, that was perfect. Like if you were interviewing for anything ever, like you would get every job. That's how you do.
All right, I gotcha.
Excellent.
Okay, so that's like that was proto Victor. So asking about like current day Victor. Obviously you're a DJ on the scene. You travel all around. Could you just give like the 1 second version of what a year looks like for you these days in terms of like how many events do you go to on average? Are there any events that you kind of have circled on the calendar for whatever reason, things like that?
Nice.
So yeah, I'm blessed, man. I'm still traveling about 40 weekends a year.
Nice.
And that's not including like, you know, when I'll DJ here at home, or if I go back to Pennsylvania when my wife and her business partner have their monthly dance. So I'm staying busy. I circle every event. Like every event for me has a special. No, it does. Like I've been doing it so long.
For any event directors that
I don't want to piss off any event directors. I love every event. Wink, wink. Keep hiring me.
Yeah. Just keep cashing.
No,
those
but
checks.
seriously, I've been doing it so long that all of these events, like I can think of each event that has been special in one way or the other over the years, of either stupidity or just amazing things that have happened with contests, or just meeting different people, or getting to sit down and get to know people that usually you see on a weekend and it's, hi, how you doing, want to dance, and that's basically it. So I'm still, knock on wood, not bored, man. Like still excited, and I'm even more excited about where this dance is going and has gone the last 5 years.
Sweet. So that's a great segue actually. So where are we now? Specifically, where's the dance in your opinion? Where's the music? Like what is really popular? Because like I'm gonna hear it a little differently than you are. Obviously, you do this for damn living, that sort of thing. So where are we at, Victor?
Oh man, I think we're in a good place. I mean, look, there's a lot of talk about the dance, the judging, the music, blah, blah, blah. But that's going to happen when there's change. That's going to happen when there's progression. Yeah. And I mean, I think this dance is in a good place. Can it be better? Absolutely. I think we're all trying to rack our brains how to get it out to the public even more. I mean, when you look at like salsa and ballroom that's out there huge, it's like, okay, if they can do it, how the hell can we do it?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where we're at. The music is going to change, man. I mean, it's like, if you don't like the music in West Coast swing, just wait 5 minutes. It's going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's right now, it's so hard to tell where the hell it's going to go, because as long as it's 4/4 time, guys, we can dance to it. That's the biggest thing, right? So,
sure. So
I love where the dance is right now. Are there issues? Of course, but you know, I don't want to get into that, because we're not here to bitch and talk about stuff like that unless you want to.
We're here to do whatever you want, man. It's sort of like, this show is just about getting your agenda out there and having a conversation about it. It's not about anyone's right or wrong or like any specific like thing other than the conversation itself. So you got guff, cool, you want to praise something, also wonderful.
Well, look, the only thing I'm going to say, and then I'll get off of my little perch, if you will, or whatever the hell you want to call it, is my only concern with the dance, and this is not something that has happened recently. I've been saying this for a long time, is I just wish that folks that get into this dance would take the time to learn the history of the dance. I'm not saying it's the important, I'm not saying you have to, but you know what? It would be super nice, because there were people that came way before Jordan Tott and Colin Sarah that paved the way for them.
Yeah.
And, you know, like if you look at Lindy, everyone knows who Frankie Manning is.
Yeah.
If you look at Shag, everyone knows who Shad Alberti is. Yeah. But if you look at West Coast Swing, not everybody may know who Gary Long is, or Jerry Krim, or folks like that. You know, people that taught me how to appreciate blues music when I started DJing. So, you know, that's like my only thing.
You know when somebody reminds you of something you haven't thought about in like 10 years? Yeah, thanks for that. Like I have not heard those two names in solid.
Seriously, that's like blast from the past.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, if there's no Gary Long, there's no Mario Robow.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's how I look at it. So I'm not saying that we all need to know it from beginning to end, and there's going to be a big test. But, you know, I love what Royston's been doing lately with the history. I think we need more of it. And I'm all like, I'm a lot like Tara Travser. I'm a huge history buff, and I love history. And when it comes to our dance, man, I wanna learn as much as I can. And I think we all should.
Yeah, absolutely. The next time that you MC at an event, Victor, can you do like knockoff history facts?
Oh,
like history facts, but
I've
about
always
things
wanted
that are really obscure and like sort of. I mean, because it's, you know, we all have to be honest with ourselves about our personal brands, right? Things that are like maybe a little bit off the beaten path, if you know what I'm saying. Like this one time in 1962 where a man died from alcohol poisoning while trying to leap over a barbed wire fence. You know, something like that.
Whoa.
All right. I'll see if I can work that in just for you.
I believe, so I believe in you. I'm looking forward to it at TAS.
I think I know that guy. Okay, so did somebody say Art Emis? Okay. They're saying trend, fast versus slow BPM. I'm assuming like that's either where are we at with speed, or do you have a preference, or like something along those lines?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny that Art brings that up, because Ruby and I always have the same conversation when we're at an event together. It's like really a pain in the ass, and I'm sure Forrest, you can attest to this too, is if you've noticed the last, I don't know, couple years, all the music that's coming out is slow.
Yeah. Like
there's not a lot of good, awesome, fast music that we can start throwing into the box of, holy crap, this is going to be a good Jack and Jill song. Everything is slow. So we're having to play older ass music. Yeah. And, you know, lots of times you hear a song and then you look out in the audience, because I don't just, when I DJ, I don't just look at the contest. I'm looking at everything. That's just my nature. You see people rolling their eyes, and it's like, you know what, guys? Give us a break. There's not a lot of great fast music coming out. So right now the trend is everything is slow. Yeah. You've got to play the older stuff in order to kind of have a balanced and fair contest, if you will.
Yeah. And I mean, that seems like it's more of a gripe of just the tempo. Never mind that it's like, well, and I could be wrong. Obviously, I'm not the person complaining. But do you think people whine more that they're hearing a song again, or is it like, it's fast?
I think it's a little of both.
Okay.
Especially when you get up in the higher levels, especially with the champions and the all-stars who now travel to so many events. It's like, I think we have, if I'm not mistaken, 90 or over 100 events alone in America.
Yeah.
Just for swing, for West Coast. It's a crap load, man. So if you're traveling, if you're one of these pros that is at just about every event and you're competing, you're going to hear the same song maybe 10 to 15 to 20 times as you travel. So of course they're going to get tired of it. But like I said, when you don't have a lot to work with, there's only so much you can do, which is why so many events like to do these themes. Let's do 80s, let's do 90s, let's do classic rock. Yeah. It's because, we're trying to add something different, but we've done everything 50 million times over and over that, it's difficult. People don't realize how hard it is, man, to like pick contest music, especially when every division is spotlight and you don't want to, duplicate songs and you want to be fair because, I can't remember who told me this. It was a long time ago. I don't think it was Kenny Wetzel, but somebody once said that a song should never win a contest. And I highly believe that. I'm a true believer of that, but it's really hard sometimes when you've got 12, 14 couples and it's spotlight and you're trying to find 12 or 14 songs that can make anyone win, if you will. So, there's a lot of pressure on a DJ. It's easy to walk out there and walk triple, but, come back behind the DJ booth and find me 15 songs that anyone could win to. Yeah. Then we'll talk.
Yeah, that are all like comparable styles and timing, and like it's just that's a tall order. What is like? Well, no, I don't want to ask that yet because that's juicy. I'm gonna pull from
to kind of chime in if you don't mind, like just with Longwood, the lines of what Victor was just saying there, which I totally agree with.
Wood?
No, I didn't. I said along the lines, but. Now we know where your head's at.
My head's always in Longwood, I don't have to tell you.
Along the lines of what Victor was saying a second ago, the Ben McHenry and me often have kind of a running joke at this point where we say that the only contemporary is throwback contemporary, and it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but the reality is that if you just look at the music that's come out over the past couple of years, what you see in terms of contemporary music is you see a lot of Afro-Cuban style music. Yeah. And so you see a lot of samba and zouk and salsa and hustle and those kinds of rhythms to it that have that kind of Afro-Cuban influence to them, particularly samba and zouk. And the tempo for those songs is almost entirely between 95 and 110 beats per minute. So if you're really trying to run a traditional kind of fast contemporary division, then you're sort of left with either playing a lot of EDM-ish stuff, a lot of club music, or you're left with a lot of Shawn Mendes, which I got nothing against Shawn Mendes, but I don't necessarily want to run the Shawn Mendes division, if you know what I mean.
Has nobody done that yet? I'm all for it.
I mean, they totally could.
Make it happen.
Or you're stuck with stuff that's really not fast. Or it really doesn't have a swung rhythm to it in terms of our traditional understanding of swung rhythm. Yeah. So the potential pool for fast contemporary, which is why if there is any event director who's watching this right now, I would really encourage you to steer away from enforcing fast contemporary, frankly, particularly for your all-star division, because everyone tries to make the all-stars dance to fast contemporary, and it's it's never good. So if you could give us a little bit more leeway over that, that would be great. And that's my kind of plea to anyone who happens to be watching this.
Forrest, it's like a mermaid with legs. I mean, you don't need it, but it's all
it's
right. I guess
it's a bad fit. But I cut you off, Andrew, when you were about to ask Victor something.
No. I'm glad that you did. I actually prefer where you were going with that. I was just gonna get something out of the chat, but what you both were saying kind of makes me think like Victor Forrest, like what is swing music then at this case? Because if it is, we're dancing to a lot of. Did you say shit?
No, I said, oh, geez.
Oh, okay.
I need a better microphone, clearly.
I've been up for 21 hours, I think, at this point, so it's probably all me. It's a very full week. But no, like, if everything is going in this route of, Afro-Cuban, it's got this samba beat, it's got, the New Orleans bounce is a really big deal right now, thank you, Drake. And where's the rest of what's swing in this regard? Does it matter?
I mean, I've volunteered opinions on that on this show before, so I'd love to get Victor's take.
Well, what is swing? I mean, swing is anytime we start playing the blues songs that have been overplayed 50 million times, or, if you throw in a Frank Sinatra, which even though it's a foxtrot, you still can swing to it because it swings. There are some contemporary songs, believe it or not, that actually swing, but, and that brings up another interesting subject. What the hell is contemporary? Because it's not a genre.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And we throw the word around contemporary means it has to be neo. And it's like, no, does it really? I mean, can't contemporary also be Al Green? So, it's like, it really kills me when someone's like, well, I thought my choices were contemporary or blues, and you gave me Aretha Franklin or an Al Green. I'm like, well, isn't that R&B? Isn't that actually considered contemporary? I mean, it's not a friggin' genre. So, it's like it's so difficult because you can open up an even bigger can of worms if you really wanted to be an ass about it, as a DJ and go, well, that is really, I mean, that's contemporary. I mean, Elvis Presley's contemporary, AC/DC's contemporary. I mean, it's all pop music, right? Which is popular. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like what you're pointing to here, Victor, is that we're actually really bad with our semantics, and this is something that I've kind of mentioned in the past, that we all the time we use words to mean things that those words don't actually mean, but we kind of use them as a stand-in for them. So we use contemporary as kind of a word to mean both a style and a timeline, and here's what I mean by that. That like where it's generally used is we say, oh, it's contemporary, it's current, it came out over the last couple of years. On the other hand, we generally use it to refer to kind of a style of music that's sort of more interpretive, that kind of more like in the style of contemporary ballet or something like that. But the problem with that is that, well, you can have contemporary R&B, and you could even theoretically have contemporary blues. You can, I mean, so like it's an identifier that's also a qualifier, and I think that people really kind of run into problems with that in terms of their understanding of it, which is why in general, when I kind of try to build a division, I try to build it around a genre. Like for me, R&B is a genre.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the sound of R&B has changed over time. Like if you play a Neo song from 2009 and you play a Neo song from 2017, they're going to sound different, even though it's the same dude.
They are.
Because the genre change. Yeah, they are. I mean, in terms of their overall structure.
Shows how much I know about Neo. Jeez.
All right. Quick note, Neo, bad example, because Neo basically sounds like Neo. But anyways, my point is that
his voice sounds like Neo, but the music, you're absolutely right, Forrest. I mean, whatever the flavor of the month is, that's what every artist is doing. It's cookie cutter. Right. We don't have originality anymore. I mean, the only reason it's Neo is because the voice. But, I mean, everything sounds like Drake. Everything sounds like samba. Everything sounds like you were saying with the Afro-Cuban. So, because that's what's selling right now. Nobody's got the balls to just get a band together and go record a song.
There's this album that I'm trying to push on a bunch of people right now. It's Leon Bridges' most recent album.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it. Perfect example.
It's amazing. Yeah. But if you listen to that album, this is just a great thing because it goes all over the place, Yeah. There's a little bit of Prince in there. There's a little bit of like Smokey Robinson. He does his own stuff at one point, and then he switches back to he's got like a Cab Calloway thing in one song.
Yeah. He's our generation Sam Cooke. Yeah. That's how I think about him.
Call him up and tell him that. That's the coolest compliment ever.
Yeah, that's high praise, but nonetheless, I don't think you're wrong here, Victor. And I think that the truth is that as long as we stay attached to contemporary being, and other people have mentioned this in the chat so far, as long as we stay attached to your contemporary division being only music that has come out in the last 2 years, then you are a prisoner to circumstance. You are trapped inside of the box.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough for your DJ on your staff to build a really, really engaging division just from the music, particularly for the fast side, that has come out over the past 2 years. So one of two things needs to happen. Either one, we need to open up our definition of what contemporary is, or two, we need to be comfortable expanding the time ranges that we're playing with, or honestly, as a third, like stop being attached to having a fast contemporary division, which is honestly would be my recommendation, because I just think that stuff is like West Coast swing is not built to be danced to house music. It's not built to be danced to like EDM fast contemporary. Like you can have a really fun dance to it, but just the structure of the dance doesn't really lend itself to it. Like it's really hard. It feels kind of challenging at this point. The dance has become sort of a slow dance. So once you start pushing into those like 128 beats per minute, but it's not like a blues rhythm, so you still have to kind of keep a long flowy slot. Boy, like that just becomes technically really challenging. Yeah. So that's sort of the way that I would kind of like try to find my way into it. So it's why when I DJ, you don't hear me play a lot of fast contemporary.
That makes sense. I really like it when somebody plays fast contemporary, because I'm one of like 3 people on the floor who can keep up with it. Like, I'm not saying that I'm a better dancer than anybody, but I sure as fuck can move faster than most people. I'm like, yes, I have one edge. I have stamina.
Well, look, when I first started going to events in 96, and the one that comes to mind is Dallas Dance, is we were dancing to 120 or 130 beats a minute from beginning to end. Right? I mean, that there was no late night. By the way, we would close the ballroom anywhere between 12 or 1 o'clock. So there was no such thing as late night. So from 8 p.m., till midnight or 4 or 5 hours, you're sweating. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't remember that or don't know that, because this dance is to you whatever it is when you came into it. If that makes any sense. So it's like, I just think it's really funny. And it's like anything. It's like fashion. It's like cars. It's like whatever. We go through different stages every 5 years or so. And right now we're at a really slow stage, which makes it difficult. And I keep coming back to the contest music, because I think it's harder for the contest music, because socially I can play a song that's 105 beats a minute, but it's got a crap load of energy and it sounds fast. Yeah. And I can play a song that's 120 beats a minute and it sounds slow. So, we just have to be careful when we're saying slow versus fast, because it doesn't really matter the BPM. It matters the energy of the song and what it can do to the room.
Yeah. I mean, it's about vibe as much as it's about BPM.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always make the decision to not go full out on every single song if it's like slightly faster than what you want to do. Like there's the speed police aren't going to make you have a bad time or whatever. That was a stupid analogy, but I'm glad I said it.
Well, no, I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Oh, good.
I'm going to start calling you the speed police. It's going to be amazing.
That's good.
So
I feel like I'm in DC in the 80s. That's cool.
Jeez. So this kind of ties into something that I was talking about for a second when I did kind of like the impromptu pseudo solo episode where I just like stared into my camera and just rambled about stuff.
You were good. Knock it off.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, you were great.
But like, you're all the nicest. But Benji said something during a workshop once that I really took away, which is that like, don't let your triples get in the way of your dancing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the triples are a tool, right? Like, and Victor would be a really interesting person to talk about this in terms of your view of the kind of progression of the dance and how it's been influenced by the music, because we have sort of lost our triple in a lot of ways as the music has moved away from having a rhythm that encourages a swung triple. But sort of Benji's perspective on it is like, don't just triple step because like that it's the moment in the dance when you're supposed to triple step. Yeah. Like don't just go like step, step, da, da, da to a 130 beats per minute song that has a elongated resolution to one of the beats, so now you have to keep a longer spot because that's going to feel really effing unpleasant if you do it for an hour.
Right.
So like, it's okay to single time something. It's okay to double time something. Like you can use these tools in your toolbox to facilitate what the music is giving you. And I think that that's sort of a really important note. Yeah.
Yes. And you know, it's funny that you say that, because I just want to say two things to that is when I was at Jack and Jill-A-Rama, and by the way, that was my first time there, and I had such a freaking blast.
Oh,
the
cool.
energy of that event. I swear to God, I just want to plug this real quick. Every event director in the country needs to go to that event. Because I walked away from that event being so inspired and having a fire lit under my ass again. It was great. But I got into the ballroom to set up, and Benji was teaching a class. And, you know, I was paying attention, obviously, and still setting up my laptop. And I heard Benji say, you know, right now, the worst thing in our dance is triple steps. And I started laughing, like, loudly. And you know, a lot of people turned around and looked at me, and Benji made a comment, and he was like, you know, that old man is laughing because he knows what I said is true. And it is. And, you know, you talk about, you know, what Benji was talking about is, you know, single time and double timing. If you look back at slow whip, which is something that came out of Texas. You know, in Houston they call it whip, in Dallas they call it push, but it's basically the same thing. You know, you're dancing to 60 beats a minute. And if you watch people like Trent Haynes from Houston, Mario Robel, Terry Roseborough, people that know how to do the dance,
is everyone
it's the most beautiful
notes?
thing. What's that?
Like, Victor, I need to get a fucking notepad or something. Hang on. All right.
Yeah, I start rambling, dude. I start rambling.
No, I'm sorry.
I love it. Don't be. I'm impressed.
Like, everyone needs to start writing some names down, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, and look, you can look this up on YouTube. I think there's some things on YouTube. But if you watch these guys do slow whip, I swear to God, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And it's because they're dancing to songs that are 60 beats a minute, and you've got a single time and you got a double time. And I think a lot of this dance is missing that. You know, I long for the days of footwork to come back to this dance. I miss it. I miss watching Jason Colasino.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
whenever I wanna watch good footwork, I'll luckily, now that I live in North Carolina, I'm 3 hours away from Myrtle Beach. I'll go watch the Shag Dancers, or I'll sit and watch Brent Key or Brenner dance. It's like I miss footwork in this dance. And the problem is I think we can go back to the music, because a lot of the music now, it's not syncopated rhythm. So, you know, from the waist down, we're kind of just standing there and I don't know. I'm not a teacher. I'm just talking about what I see and just my opinion.
What do you think a teacher is?
I think it's super well said. Yeah, like I think it's super, super well said. I wouldn't, you know, I offer opinions diffidently and all that, but like, it's become a very upper body dominant dance, and I definitely know that in my own dancing. Like, I'm a very upper body dominant person, and I try to include my feet as much as humanly possible. But because of the nature of the music, particularly the lyrical music, I would say it's a little bit better for R&B, which is why I play a lot of R&B. But if you think about like the slow lyrical contemporary, or even like the fast like EDM style, like 115, like nka contemporary, neither of those styles of music really lend themselves to a lot of rhythmical interpretation in the feet. In general, if you watch your favorite champions, Jack and Jill, that's dancing to slow contemporary. These are the best dancers on the planet. And they're really, what you see is a lot of like rotation and extension and expression in the upper body. And to create that, you have to kind of keep a strong base, right? So it's relatively rare where you see a dancer who can really kind of like combine column A and column B.
Yeah. Of
course, there are still some, like I think that Kyle's sort of a great example of somebody who maintains that beautiful lyrical extension in his upper body while still being able to be active in his lower chain. Yeah, and to be fair, there's like one Kyle on the planet, so there you go. that's the one you get, guys. But I do think that
so
there
many
are
people
ways
out there who's like, I do that. Like,
yeah, sure. No, I mean, there are people out there who do that, but I think that Kyle has sort of a unique ability to kind of create that.
I
in
mean,
his
Kyle's a freak. I think we've covered this a bunch. Like, the guy's, if there is such, I have honestly been kind of wrestling with this idea that, like, genius is very overused, but he's very special. You know, he works his ass off, and he is naturally talented at what he does. He's got a beautiful mind. I honestly think, like, McHenry does incredibly interesting stuff, and I'm not saying that just because he's in the chat today, but
Hey, go Ben.
Hype! But, like, there's things that Ben does that I'm like, I feel like I should have thought of that. That was, and maybe that comes from just doing this forever. Or maybe it comes from
I mean,
Ben's a friggin'
it's notable
weirdo.
that both of the people we're naming here with Ben and Kyle, or I mean, I could throw out a bunch of other names, but basically all of them have been dancing for 15 years, or they've been dancing for 20 years.
Yeah.
They've been doing this since that previous style was in the was in the ether, if you will. So they're still influenced by that as like an underlying thing. If you watch sort of the people who have come to the dance more recently, particularly sort of the influx of international talent, what you really see is you see strong upper body. You see very, very dynamic, very strong upper bodies with kind of feet that follow the action, which is totally okay. But it's true that in the past, historically, the dance was a lower body dominant dance. All the fun stuff was going on from the waist down. Now all the fun stuff is going on from the waist up. And I mean, there's neither of those is inherently superior to the other. But it would be nice if we could get better at kind of taking a little bit from both and blending them together, which is obviously a real challenge.
Well,
it's funny because a lot of the pros, and I've heard Deborah Seke say this in a workshop, is like, we're not reinventing the wheel. We look amazing because we're doing basics, and we take stuff from the basics that we do amazing things from. And a lot of these up and coming dancers think that, shit, I'm doing the same thing Kyle's doing, or I'm doing the same thing Jordan's doing, or I'm doing the same thing McHenry's doing. It's like, no, you're really not. You think that you are. And I'm not bad mouthing any of the All-Stars. I'm not bad mouthing anyone. But you know what I've always wanted to do? And I don't think that there's an event that probably would do this. And I've had this in my head for like 5 years. I've always wanted to have the All-Stars do the Jack and Jill. And then, however many couples it is, let's just say for argument's sake, it's 10. They get their 10 songs and it's Spotlight. Okay, yay, you're done. Now go sit on the floor. And now we got the champions. And guess what? They're dancing to the exact same 10 songs. And I'm not, and it's not like, okay, All-Stars, this is how it's done. It's not like I'm trying to slap you in the face, but there's a huge, huge difference. And a lot of people aren't seeing it. And I've always wanted to put like, two things up together to the same song and see if, these guys, these pros are amazing, man. They still swing, even if the song doesn't. And Kyle is a perfect example. I mean, that son of a bitch swings like no one's business. And it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah,
I think that would be super interesting on a lot of levels. There's the occasional event where you definitely see a situation where the All-Star division ends up in, sometimes putting on better dances than some of the dances in Champions. But you're right, where it's not common. And additionally, when it does happen, it's often because the All-Stars got better music for whatever reason. Like they got a really good selection of stuff and they just jived with that, and something happened in the Champs division where that just didn't really come through. Kind of like lightly transition out of this into something that I think is a really good question. Andrew Sinclair asked if you could comment on difference regionally. Because obviously because me and Andrew like travel a certain amount, but I'm basically just on the West Coast. I've done a little bit internationally, and I've done a little bit kind of in the center of the country, but I've never been to a dance event on the East Coast even. So, like, if you could give some commentary on that, that would be great.
Well, so, like, recently, within the last few years, really, in my opinion, it's kind of the same all across the country.
It's really homogenous.
Because the music is getting played. First of all, we've got people that are traveling in insane amounts. So you've got folks in the East Coast, folks in the Midwest, and people in the West Coast that are traveling back and forth. So it's not like back in the day where, the East Coast folks would maybe only get out to the West Coast once or twice, and, the same with the West Coast. So the music definitely 15 years ago, regionally, it was different. And it was like the East Coast and the Midwest were very similar, where they would dance contemporary and blues and more R&B, if you will. And then the West Coast was always, to me, kind of like the forefront of, we're over the blues. We're dancing to more of the stuff that's on the radio. It's more hip hop. It's more contemporary. Again, we keep coming back to that damn word. But, I think that over the years, though, the last few years, it's pretty much, no matter what event you go to, it's pretty much the same. You're going to hear the same music at Mad Jam that you will at Wild Wild Westy, that you will at the After Party or Jack Jill Rama. It pretty much is the same. I don't think it is that much different, but it was, I'd say, 10 to 15 years ago for sure.
Yeah, and I mean,
that's really interesting. I was just talking with somebody about this the other day, where it's the regional variation occurs because of the people who are playing the music regionally, right? So if you have the same group of like 6 DJs who kind of travels to every major event, then you're going to get a lot of music that sounds kind of the same, right?
Yeah.
Well, and it's, I mean, we're in the internet age now, where the world is the smallest it's ever been and the most connected. Right. And I can go right now and find Koichi's entire list of the last four events that he's played. I mean, it's
and that's the other thing. You've got, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Andrew, but you've got DJs that live in the West Coast and DJs that live in the East Coast and then DJs that live in the middle that are being hired to all of these events.
Yeah.
So we're all being exposed to different kinds of music, and we end up all kind of having more or less the same playlist. The only difference is when you play that certain song may be at a different time than Forrest may play it. That's really like the only difference. But we've got so many DJs being hired at events that, aren't local to that event's region, right? I mean, Koichi is at Mad Jam, and I'm all over the place. And, it's like, it's not like it used to be, where you had your East Coast DJs and they, if you go to all of the East Coast events, you're going to see those guys. And then in the Midwest, you're going to see those DJs. And in the West Coast, you're going to see Jack Smith and all of these guys. Right. It's different now.
Do you miss it?
Say what?
Do you miss it? Do you miss like how it used to be? Is this okay now? Do you have a preference?
I mean, of course. I miss. Here's the thing. Here's the thing I miss the most. And I was having this conversation a few weeks ago with Angel Figueroa about this.
Yeah.
You guys, and by I mean you guys, I'm talking about the folks that have been in this dance maybe 10 years now. You guys never got to see what a true late night was. That's what I miss.
Let's play this game. What is a true late night, Victor?
Well, so I'll give you an example. I remember at NADC.
Yeah.
Bill Cameron's old event, North Atlantic Dance Championships. And I remember DJing like at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I would look over to my left, and there's Mario working with Kyle and Sarah and Jordan and Todd, and they'd be trading off moves. And then I would look to the right, and there's Sky Humphreys, a Lindy dancer, dancing to West Coast swing music. And it's like all of the pros were out. Everyone was dancing. Nobody gave a shit if we were dancing to B.B. King or who was popular back then? I don't know. Babyface, whatever the hell, whoever the contemporary flavor of the month was. That's what I miss, and that's what you guys unfortunately never got to see. The days of that late night are long gone, and for many reasons. I mean, lots of times we don't even start social dancing until 1 o'clock in the morning because we've got to wait till the contest is over. And, at 1 o'clock in the morning, you can't be playing 80 beats a minute because you want to get the crowd up and dancing, and you've got to throw some energy. So it's such a different animal now.
But I gotta disagree with that point. Not you personally. I disagree with we have to play certain types of music at 1 in the morning versus I know that's a thing. I 100% get it. But every time I'm out, I'm like, woo, just saw some good dancing. I'm ready to get down. And it's like, everybody get closer. Everybody touch your toes.
But Andrew, you gotta remember, dude, you've got to look at this from a DJ side of it, right?
I know.
It's 1 o'clock. But hold on. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. We just ended a contest. You've got folks in that ballroom that are 16 years old all the way to 80 years old. So you've got to play for that crowd, man. You can't just turn yourself into a late night mood. You got to work into that. And that's the problem. We're not really Forrest. Our late night comes in like around 3 or 4 in the morning.
My late night, I'm old, man. Inside, I need my late night to start at 1. My point being is just like, I don't need 180 beats a minute. But the trend when I'm at a thing seems to be like 1 a.m. I know everybody bails for a bit. You know, let me say this a different way. I would like to see more of emphasis on like, let's start dancing earlier. Like, I want to get on the floor. I want to jam. I want my contest earlier. I want to like get it over with.
Totally.
You know? Yes.
Well, there's a lot of events that are doing that now. I mean, Angel Figueroa, Debbie Figueroa, Rick Domolsky's event. Like when they started their event, the one thing that they always wanted to do is like by 10 o'clock, 10:30 the latest, we're done with all our contests and we're going to start social dancing. And, you know, the first year of that event, I told Angel, I'm like, dude, you do realize that by 2 a.m., everyone's probably going to go to bed because we've been dancing for so long, and that never happened. They danced till 5 or 6 in the morning. Yeah. I know McHenry's event, he likes to do that too at Swingtacular. And I think a lot of events are trying to do that, but there's so much contest now, man. It wasn't like that when I first started. There's just so many contests now that if you can have an event that you can end at 10 or 10:30 at night, man, you know, you're awesome. More power to you, because it's kind of a hard thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it's like as simple as do this thing, because I know everybody wants everything right now and everybody's trying to please everybody. And, you know, more power to them. That's awesome. And that's how you make money. You know, you branch out and get your clientele. But I would love to see one convention just like, we're going to do this one fucking thing, and that's it. And then you're gonna dance like crazy, you know what I mean? Like, and I know that's not where the money is, and I know there's 1,000 reasons not to do it, but that's just a personal preference thing. Because I go mostly to hang out with guys like Forrest. I go to hang out with Forrest specifically, or I go to listen to yours or Forrest's or Koichi's music. Like, I'm there to express myself and have a great time and shake off the rigors of the week or month or whatever. So
unfortunately, you're in the small percentage of that group, you know. And I wish, you know, I mean, John Festa started an event back in the day called Hudson Swing Affair, and John was, in my opinion, and I've had this conversation with John about this, he was like way ahead of his time, because he did a contest, and it was not a contest. He did an event Labor Day weekend where it was just workshops and social dancing.
Cool.
And, you know, John was ahead of his time, because I think if an event were to do that now, it would actually be more popular than people think. Because I think a lot of folks, and I could be wrong with this, I think a lot of folks are kind of over the whole contest shit. It's like, okay, enough point chasing. Let's just dance and socialize. Because for the love of God, that's what this dance is. This dance started in a bar room, not a ballroom.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think we're over, more than anything, we're over the same convention over and over again, you know? Yes. I don't think anybody's ever going to stop chasing glory. That's just like, that's what a competitor does, you know? And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, we get into this because competition is such a fucking big part of our thing, our steez or whatever. And however, every convention, with rare exception, feels the same and has for a long, long time. And then there's things like Jack and Jill La Rama. There's things like Mad Jam. There's I think Rose City's got a vibe. Swingtacular's got a thing going on. What's Swingcouver? Like, there are very defined, very eccentric events, and this is kind of what we talked to McHenry about. So if you could focus on one thing over anything else, Victor, at a convention, what do you want? Is it the music? Is it like doing this thing that you're saying, or is it something else?
I mean, I think And I'm pretty sure that every event director goes into their event thinking the same way. I think it's a balance. I think it's a little bit of competition so the people that like to compete can compete. I think it's a little bit of social so we can have the social. I think it's workshops so we can learn.
Yeah.
But it's just finding that balance, you know, and anyone that's ever put an event together, you know, if you don't make money, you can't do it again the following year. And I know you guys had that last week with McHenry when y'all were talking about that. And, you know, unless you're a millionaire and you don't give a shit and you're like, you know what, I'm going to put it on an event, whatever happens, happens, you know, then you can do whatever the hell you want. But unfortunately, you know, in this day and age, you've got more people that want to compete, and that's where the money is.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're going to do something like that, then you just would end up doing a workshop weekend where you invite an instructor or two, and then, you know, it's a learning session and you have social dancing. But I like events that evenly balance it out. Okay. And it's like Austin Swing Dance, and it's like Swingtacular, and events that can give everybody a little bit of everything. And then we're not done at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning for social.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I like that. That's cool.
Well, no, I think that I think that's great. And I think that what you see is a pendulum swing, right? Like, back in the day, there was one contest at an event. You know, it was just an All-American, basically. Like, everyone danced with everyone in one big thing, and whoever won, basically. Then it started to, like, stratify a little bit with different divisions and things. And then you have Strictly, and then, okay, now we're doing routines, and, you know, just multiplies and multiplies. And I think that what you start to see is that, like, a couple years ago, I don't know exactly, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, I think that we hit, like, peak contests. You know, every event was doing every division that could possibly be imagined. You know, every event was like Jack and Jill-orama in terms of its focus on, like, have every Jack and Jill, you know, but then also have all these Strictlys and also have a routine division, whatever it might be. And I think that ever since then, you've seen more events like Endless Summer Swing, which is basically, as you're describing, just workshops and social dancing, things like that, where the pendulum's kind of starting to swing a little bit back in the other direction, and you see more events trying to start at 10 p.m. in terms of social dancing, or 11 p.m., or goodness, at least by midnight. So I do think that it's kind of normalizing a little bit, and we're starting to find that kind of gushier midpoint in between those two extremes.
Sure.
So.
Right.
There was a convention, I'm not going to say their name because, frankly, the director was very rude to a number of people. But it was years ago, and I remember a few of us were trying to we just wanted more dancing, and one of us was on staff, and they were specifically a DJ, and like, is it okay if I go and open up dancing in this room? People just keep complaining about there's not enough dancing, and the director full yelled at us and said, like, no, we're not taking away from the contest, we're not going to take away. He's like, it's not going to take away anything. The people will go to the contest if they want to go to the contest. They'll be the enthusiastic ones. He's like, no, we need absolutely everybody. And then it was just, you know, dead faces because everybody was exhausted. We had been watching competitions all day like normal, and there was no recharge. So late night comes around and we're done. Like, everybody, like, it just felt like we were getting beaten down by it. And I'm not, like, my thing with it is I would really like it if there was a convention where there was dancing at any given time, or you had designated people who were allowed to, maybe not even the DJs, but like somebody who wanted to get like an up and coming DJ who didn't get a chance at some point. You know, somebody certified to run the system could go into an off room and provide dancing the whole time there, or at least more. But that doesn't seem to be kosher at a lot of places. And I don't know. What's your opinion on, like, you need everybody there for the competition versus, like, the enthusiastic?
Yeah, I mean, so, yes. So, like, it's hard for me because, you know, now for the last 4 or 5 years, I have been a co-event director.
Sure.
I kind of wear two different hats because as a DJ, yes, we should have another room so the people that don't give a shit about competitions can go social dance. But as an event director, I don't want to have an empty ballroom when there's a Jack and Jill contest going on because I want people in there cheering. So it's really a double-edged sword for me because I look at it in two different ways. And I'll be honest, I mean, I tend to lean more of not having a secondary ballroom for social dancing unless my event has over 1,000 people.
Sure.
Because then it's a little different, okay, so what if 300 people or 200 people go to the other room?
Yeah.
I still got a ballroom.
Yeah.
But when you're an event that has 300 to 500 people, that makes a difference.
Sure, that makes sense. Do you think that people would like bail, like everyone would bail, or do you think that the enthusiastic ones would stick around?
Well, I mean, I think people would stick around. I think it also depends if the contest is boring or not. But I think more or less people will stick around only because they're waiting to, dance themselves. So it's like, why would I want to leave when, I got to dance in 20 minutes or what have you? And, the interesting thing for me, and I don't think anyone's brought this up, and I don't know if you guys have talked about this, and it makes me happy in a way, is I'm seeing a hell of a lot more younger people attend events across the country than what I used to see even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think that the younger crowd is, they're okay with starting social dancing at 1 or 2 in the morning. They want to watch the contest. They want to cheer their friends and they want to compete. Whereas now it's maybe, 25, 30 older folks that could care less, maybe social dancing. And to me, that to me is not enough to open up a secondary room for just 20 or 30 people.
Sure.
And I love the fact that we've got a crap load of younger people into this dance, but I don't know. Do you guys see that when as you travel? I mean, we've got a lot of young people now attending these events, which is awesome.
Well, fat shout out to Hannah Meyer and people like her who run really great juniors things, and my people like Sue Young and the Corvallis crew here in Oregon. Like these college clubs, there's more of them now. They're being run really well. They're being run like organizations. So anybody who's listening who happens to be of that ilk, you're awesome. I mean, more people dancing, I don't give a shit what age you are. It's just good,
Yeah. I totally agree with Victor on this one, where like I think that, I mean, I hear about it. I don't know personally, but I hear about kind of quote unquote back in the day, there being a substantial amount of juniors that may or may not be accurate. But like when I got into the dance, like from now, since when I got into the dance, which was depending on when you count about like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I've seen like personally just a real growth in the number of juniors doing this dance, and kind of the way that events run these very kind of coordinated juniors programs and really try to discount stuff for juniors and things like that. Because it's a cliche to say, but that really is where your next world champions are coming from in general. It's coming from people who have been doing this dance for 10, 15 years by the time that they hit their physical peak in their 20s.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you got to start by a certain age. So if we really want to see amazing dancing, not just today, but for the next 10, 15, 20 years, we are highly incentivized to have a great juniors program and to really allow those people to kind of spread their wings inside of this dance.
I mean, look at the shag community.
Yeah, the shag's great at it. The shag dancers in the open, the juniors are amazing.
You know what the shag community does? I'm sorry, Victor. You just say your thing. I can.
No, well, I think you and I were just about to say the same thing. I mean, as we speak right now, Junior Shag just started this weekend. And you're talking about 5,000-10,000 kids at Myrtle Beach, shag dancing, and it's like, well, your next champion's gonna come from that pool for sure. It'd be awesome if the West Coast Swing community could have like a junior SOS.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know if it's like economically feasible. That's always the question. I suspect it is, because Lord knows that parents are in general happy to spend some money on behalf of their children. But doing an event like that was just targeted at the juniors and instructing and getting a lot of people in there and kind of having a almost like a summer camp or something. For junior swing dancers, I think is like an amazing idea that somebody could totally run with.
Yeah, I think it's maybe not feasible as like a giant convention, but somebody do a small one, please. Just like
totally, yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be 10,000 people.
Right. But you got to start somewhere. Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
And the thing that my favorite thing in the entire world that doesn't really happen all that much in West Coast, but happens in shag, and that's how you have 10,000 dancers at a thing, is a mentorship. It doesn't happen in a whole fuck ton of things anymore like it used to. I mean, in order to do anything, you had to have a master. And
Yep.
And that's the greatest thing that ever happened to me as a dancer. My career is because I have the director that I have, because I have the mentor that I have now as a grown man. Never mind when I was like 15 and really didn't get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
totally.
if huge encouragement to anybody out there who's in the chat or watches this later or anything. If you see somebody that you like or has like a little bit of talent or interest, especially interest, take them under your wing and like show them the ropes and help them meet people. Make this important to them in a way that's greater than, yeah, I paid my $7 and I'm out of the venue tonight. You know? And
Yeah.
I'm unfortunately looking at the clock and we got to kind of wrap it up a little bit here. So
holy shit, already?
I know.
Yeah, we just sailed on through.
I keep checking it, and every time I've checked it, it's like 20 minutes later. It's so like, Victor, you're just incredible. This entire episode, I'm just thinking like, he's a really good guest. He's so entertaining and awesome.
I mean, we'll definitely have him back another time.
No question.
Listen, I want to say this before we leave. You guys are incredible. I love what y'all are doing. This is fucking brilliant. I love it. I love it. I love it. Keep doing it. Have more guests, because this is what we need, man. I mean, if you think about it, you guys actually can become our history of this dance just by who you have on the show and what you talk about. So kudos to y'all and keep doing it.
Thanks, Victor. Longest
Thank you,
running
really
West Coast swing talk show.
I love that when I put that down there, I felt so satisfied because I was like, yes, we're competing against ourselves.
It's so good. So
Technically accurate.
It's so accurate. Somebody call Guinness. It's going to be great. So Victor, if there's anything that you want to like close on, anything that you want to really get out there to people, what is it?
Yeah.
Go to these events, have fun, dance. If you don't make a final or if you don't place, it ain't the fucking end of the world, because guess what? There's another event next weekend. Just enjoy it, y'all. That's it. Just have fun. And come to the DJ booth and say hello, because we get lonely up there sometimes.
Yeah, man.
And go to Trilogy Swing.
Go to Trilogy Swing. That's right.
2018.
Plug Trilogy Swing.
Right.
Yeah,
Trilogy Swing, September 6th through the 9th. And by the way, one of the things I'm super proud of is we're having Legends Invitational Jack and Jill with legends of West Coast swing dancing to the music of the old days. It's going to be freaking amazing. I can't wait for that.
That's amazing. I'm quitting my job. And I'm going. So
one final plug in order to, do all the things here. Sponsor this week, AlphaVo, July 24th. He's got a champion webinar with Miles Monroe. Check it out. The link is in the description of the show. Victor, you are the best. And Andrew, now I will let you do the whole song and dance routine.
That was beautiful, man. I love when I can just sit back and go, oh, yeah. Ooh, plugs. Wonderful. Miles Monroe. Oops. Yeah. My name is Andrew. You heard Forrest say it. So on behalf of Forrest and Victor, thank you all so much for being a part of the show. Remember, if there's things that you want to talk about, if there's anything that you care about, please post it. We do have the West Coast Live AV Club, which is where you can be a dork and post clips that you like. If there's a thread that you want, throw it up and we'll make it official. But for now, that's going to be it from us. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Go have the best day you've ever had, and we'll see you again on West Coast Live. Bye.